Hello everybody, Jeff Jackson, the Forage Fan Addict. I have a pretty good following, and people are sending me questions and need some advice all the time, so I thought I'd just share one of the questions I had today and give you all the insight so maybe you can help somebody else as well. So a question goes like this. I have one of these growers that raises some beef cows, and they're looking to try to do some sorghum in a field this year. They want to do multiple cuttings for baleage, or cut it once and then graze it the rest of the season. So what are some things that they need to look out for? So I'm literally going to go through this person's questions and talk about what my answer would be, and then you can follow along and see if it makes sense for you and your family or growers as well. So if I'm going to do a multi-cutting of baleage versus a single cut and then graze, what variety or what options would be best suited for central Minnesota? So first of all, if you're going to do something, we're going to do multiple cuttings of baleage, or you want to do a one cutting to make baleage or chop, whatever it might be, and then graze throughout the rest of the season, I would consider or tell you that you would simply just use a really, really good sorghum sedan grass. I'm going to recommend that this person use what we call at Cropland Green Treat Advance, because it's a brachytic dwarf BMR, has fantastic digestibility. It's going to be really good regrowth. It's priced really well this year. So we're going to take this thing, and if you were to plant it and then just let it go, it's one of those varieties that's going to try to put a head on at about 65 days after planting. So we want to have it utilized before then. So my recommendation in this scenario is that the gentleman go ahead and take this thing. We're going to plant it around June 1st, which is going to be a 60-degree soil temperature in the morning and rising. We're going to plant this at about, so there's multiple scenarios here. I got another question in there that says, hey, can I broadcast it and blow it on with some fertilizer, harrow it, and drag it in? So let's talk about some of that as we go through some of this question and answer portion. I am not a huge proponent of blending it with fertilizer, blowing it on, harrowing it, and just using it that way. Sorghum sedan grass seed really likes to be planted about an inch deep in firm soil. If you can get your broadcast and harrow job done and get it an inch deep in firm soil, more power to you. My answer would be this. I would prefer to see it drilled at 25 to 30 pounds to the acre, in rows, inch in the ground, firm it up, get that thing growing. If in fact you believe that you need to go and blow it on to try to save yourself some grief somewhere, I'm going to tell you to plant it at 30 or 35 pounds to the acre, because some's going to be too shallow, some's going to be too deep. It's going to be all over the board on emergence coming out of this, because you've just basically willy-nilly thrown it out there. Will it work? The chances are you're going to get stuff to come up. And at that rate, it might not hurt you. But now you're going to plant a little bit extra seed to compensate, in my mind, for everything else that you want to do. So 25 to 30 pounds through the drill, 30 to 35 pounds broadcast. If you're going to broadcast it, make sure you harrow it a couple times so you can get it mixed in, and then hit it with a cultipacker to firm it up. So can be done. Not my favorite. If you're going to broadcast it, don't call me with a problem, because at that point you took the risk on your shoulders, and that's just the way it is. Okay, so you're going to find out. Will it work or will it not? So that would be my suggestion there. Now, fertility-wise, and I would suggest that for this crop, you're going to need to split, because again, this is a scenario where we're going to take multiple harvests, whether it be multiple cuttings or cutting and grazing, or rotational grazing, and we're going to graze it, go off, let it regrow, come back. We're going to do multiple applications. First application I would do would be about a 45, 30, 40, 10 pounds of sulfur. So 45, 30, 40, 10 pounds of sulfur on the first cut, or the first harvest aspect. Then to side dress, come back with another 45 units of nitrogen and 10 pounds of sulfur for the second side. And I'm going to suggest ammonium sulfate to get half your nitrogen and your sulfur out there, because that sulfur is going to be more readily available and utilized by that plant faster than like 90% dry sulfur. That's my recommendation. Do what you want to do. But you need to split apply that nitrogen, because if you put 90 pounds of nitrogen out there up front and you take that first harvest off of there, it's probably going to be high nitrates because it luxury consumes all that in, and it's going to be hot. It hasn't had time to metabolize, utilize, and put that nitrogen into crude protein with the sulfur that you added into that mix. So you do a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 pounds of nitrogen, 1 pound of sulfur, and that's where you get that 45-to-9 or 10 in there to get your sulfur. So that'd be the fertility piece. And then this cutting schedule, what's this going to look like? So again, if we get it planted on June 1st, at about 40 or 45 days, you should take that first cutting. You might graze it before that because it's going to be, almost chest high, given you have moisture and enough heat to get things going. So let's say first cutting 45 days. So June 1, July 15. Now that that plant's established and it can get going faster, you're probably going to be ready to cut it at about 40 or 45 inches again in 30 days. So it might be July 15th cutting, August 15th cutting, September 15th cutting, if you're going to run about a 40-day, 40-inch type cutting schedule. And rotational grazing, folks, depending on the stocking rate, the moisture, the temperature, all those kind of things is going to dictate on what that looks like. But again, multiple cuttings. It's going to do the best with limited wheel traffic because you're going to ruin some plants on the way through. And that's why I suggested this 30 pounds to the acre to help compensate for multiple cuttings if we get in there multiple times. If you're going to do this whole baleage thing, maybe you let it go 55 or 60 days on the first cut and get just a little bit bigger up to maybe head height, and then let it go a little bit longer for the second cutting so you don't have so much harvest costs with 3 harvests in there. The benefit to 3 cuttings would be is you're going to harvest higher crude protein, you're going to harvest higher fiber digestibility. But if you are going to do baleage, maybe some pre-cutters in the baler, you're going to have that moisture. It will help palatability. And depending on what your livestock needs are, you might not need such high crude protein. So then you could extend that window just a little bit further, especially in this beef cow scenario. So those were a few of the questions that I had asked from this gentleman. And then some other agronomic concepts. Make sure you get treated seed that has either Concept or SoarPro. We're going to call it the antidote for pre-emerge chemistries. So if you're going to use those S-metolachlor and some atrazine, obviously atrazine doesn't bother it, but the S-metolachlor, you need to have it safened with Concept or SoarPro. Cut that crop probably about 4 inches high. That gets, that gives you about that much stem out there for a good regrowth to come out. Limit the wheel traffic when you can. Don't just drive all over the damn place. Don't try to drive over the whole field to limit your wheel traffic in one spot. I'd rather have you kill one row or a couple rows in one driveway than just to drive over everything. So think about that. And as you graze it, you're probably going to graze down to about 8 or 10 inches. About the top of your boot is a real good grazing height, because you get much past that, cows are going to start getting a little hungry and maybe start walking the fence on you. So again, it's Jeff Jackson, the Forage Fanatic. You got about 9 minutes of coverage here on what's a plan look like if we're going to do some grazing on some sorghum sudan grass for some cows, and how can we manage that. So hope you all have a great day. It's Jeff Jackson, the Forage Fanatic. Catch you later.